Hi. So we're here in the backyard in New York, and I got inspired to do an interview of some recent Peace Run events. So the first one was an interview with Devashishu and Florbela about when we met the President of Portugal and what happened. But even before that, we'll hear from Natabara about how the whole thing began. So enjoy.
This is high tech.
All right.
So, last year at the United Nations in September, all the heads of state came into town and to give their speeches, and there was a climate summit I was working on. And in between speeches, I found myself next to the chief of protocol for Portugal, and I introduced myself, and we started talking. And I said, I've run through Portugal. And he said, really? He was skeptical, so I pulled out my phone, I showed him the video, and he was watching and he was appreciating it. And then all of a sudden I felt this other person come over the other shoulder, and it was the President of Portugal. And he was saying how beautiful the kids were holding the torch. And so I said, the Peace Run's opening up in Lisbon in March. It would be great if you could open it up. And he said, well, I'm a runner. And I said, really? And why don't you run with the torch, or at least open it up for us? And he said, well, yes, I will. And so he went out and gave his speech to the General Assembly. He came back, and on his way out, he smiled at me, and I said, you'll hold the torch, right? And he said, yes, I will. So I said, you promise? And he said, yes, I promise. So then after that, I wrote a letter. Ricardo managed to get it to the right people, and the rest is history.
Florbela, when we met the President of Portugal, originally my understanding was that Ricardo was going to light the torch. And then at one point you said to me, I'm going to do it. And what happened? How did that come about?
I really don't know. When I entered into the president's palace, I just started feeling something very strong inside me, but I didn't know what was it. And I was so moved. Even when I was singing, I was just looking to his eyes, and I was so moved. So I don't know. Someone spoke about feel the soul of a country. I don't have any idea what is that, but I know that when I entered into the palace, I felt something so strong inside me, and I didn't know what I was doing. I don't know why I asked Ricardo that I would like to do that. I really don't know. I just was feeling something very, very strong.
So what happened? When you went and gave him the torch, did you say anything to him, or what happened?
Yes. I told him that I was absolutely happy to be there, and I was so grateful because he was receiving in an amazing way. And at some point I told him, Mr. President, I feel absolutely proud of our country. And that's when he hugged me and all that.
Wow. And before that day, had you paid much attention to the president? Did you know him? Did you read about him in the papers or anything like that?
No, I don't. I don't have TV at home. I don't read the newspapers. But when I go to a restaurant or someone's house and they have the TV on and the president appears, all of us, all the Portuguese like him a lot. He's a very, very nice person, and he's always connecting with the people. And that's the image that I have of him, that he's very connected with the people. He's very simple. He's a very simple person. He hugs everyone.
And what was your feeling after you'd met him?
That he's a very special person.
Right.
That's what I felt there. He's special. He's someone special.
You know, having like started on such a high, how were the next few days of the peace run in Portugal?
Were amazing.
Yeah.
Were amazing because we were not feeling anymore that pressure of the president's meeting.
Yeah.
And, as everything was so well with the president, we were feeling the energy of that moment in the days after.
Uh-huh.
And I think it was happiness and joy. The next days, I think, was mostly that happiness and joy.
Great. So Devashishu, you were there too, obviously, as was I. What did you like? Yeah, what was your feeling about the whole thing?
Yes, it was very, very interesting listening to Florbela because my whole build-up to the peace run was more about getting everything together for the European peace run, preparing everything, speaking with all the coordinators, and I had put very little thought into actually meeting this president, and a similar feeling when as soon as you went into the palace, there was definitely something, you really felt that, in the past I was with Sri Chinmoy on several visits when he would go to meet presidents, prime ministers, or some sort of VIP. I was there when he met Mother Teresa. And there was this sudden feeling of, wow, there's a lift, something inside you lifts to the occasion, to meet the occasion, because you feel that something is special. And it's not just the physical, the environment, the grandeur of the palace and all that, because actually the people were very, very nice to us and very low key when we came in. They were very, official, but they were very low key. But it was something, like Florbela says, that you feel inside. And I remember when he came in, I think you, Salil, actually folded your hands when he came. It was very interesting. So actually our first greeting wasn't a typical Western greeting. It was the folding of hands. It was this very sort of heartfelt, almost Indian style spiritual greeting that when we met him. And he did it back. You remember? He did it straight back.
Yeah.
Just straight away. It was very natural for him and straight away, that was the first time I'd seen him. And straight away you got the feeling of somebody very sharp, very bright mind, very sharp, very aware, very, very, very aware of what's going on and very clear mind. But also, as Florbela says, a very generous heart, a tremendous, his eyes were full of hospitality, of that sort of warmth and greeting you, making you feel welcome immediately in his eyes and the way he looked at you. And he had that, and as the ceremony unfolded, you could feel, this person is a very bright person, a person who's very smart, very, very full of capacity, someone who obviously can do a lot, very sharp, but who has this tremendous dependence on the heart, on his inner feeling for people, for places, for occasions. And he knew everything about the peace run. He'd obviously done all of his homework in his speech, in his official speech, his formal speech, but also when he met with the runners individually. He knew every detail about our peace run, the dates of our starting, our finish, the countries, and I was really impressed by that. So he had really spent some time to understand what the peace run is, to know about it. And then Salil invited him to come meet the team. He went to each person, and it was very funny because with each Portuguese lady, he would kiss them twice in the Portuguese greeting. And out of deference, I think, in respect, he didn't do it to everybody. So he did it. He knew with his countrymen he could do it, and it would be a very warm way of greeting them. But with everyone else, he found a little aspect about their country or about them, and he would really show his love and respect for each country, each person who was there. And he's got a, I don't know how old he is. Is he in his 70s?
Yeah.
70s.
Yes.
Energy, vibrance, and also a sort of very childlike, almost mischievous quality where he wants to improvise. He wants things to be shaken out of the conventional norms, and he wants to bring some life and sweetness and joy into the proceedings. And he does it immediately. As soon as he's in the room, he does it in his very presence, And he went through the whole team, every member. There was probably about 30 people there, and he shook everyone's hands. And he delighted to hear the new country. Somebody was there from Guatemala, somebody from Czech Republic. When he came to me, he took my hand very vigorously. Oh, Great Britain, Great Britain! And very vigorously, he shook my hand with such a warmth and friendliness, you know. And then with Salil at the end, of course, he gave you a hug. I'm not sure if you gave him the hug or he gave you the hug. We're not really sure. But he accepted.
I think it was reciprocal.
It was reciprocal. But yeah, I was really just moved. And then, of course, his speech, when he speaks, you feel it. And, you know, that was a really powerful meeting for me. I really felt, and a couple of people who were there, you almost choked up, you know, because it was so beautiful and powerful and so wonderful to hear a leader of a country speak so sincerely, so genuinely about peace and the need for peace in our world. And you feel he's one of these people, he's not going to stop for many, many years. He will be doing whatever he can, you know, whatever his capacity is as president or whatever he goes on to do afterwards. He'll always be working and focusing and praying for peace in our world. So he's definitely a very, very special person.
Similar to you, I think, Devashishu, until you get to a place, it's sort of theoretical that we're going to meet the president. You sort of go, well, that's exciting, but you're not really, well, I wasn't really feeling it until I got into the palace, and like you, I felt that there's something beyond the decoration. It's beyond the building. There's some sort of inner significance or power that this is, in some ways, the where the soul resides. In some ways, you know, the soul of a country. And so when we were waiting for him, you know, we were inside, we were all sort of in position and waiting for him. And I was struck by that. And then the other thing which sort of came to me while we were waiting is that someone like that who cares so deeply about peace, he needs our help. He needs, because it's not like he's one person. Even though he's the president, a country can't achieve anything with one person. It needs everybody to get involved. And I really felt strongly that by us doing the peace run, we were really supporting what he values, you know, because that's what he wants in his country is peace and happiness and fulfillment for every single person. So if we were able to, in some small way, support that and encourage that in him and also in the people we meet, that's when I thought of that, it came to me or whatever, I started like choking up because I thought, wow, this is what we can do. This is what we can do to help. And it was and as you said during the meeting, it was a wonderful. There was so much kindness and love and concern. Yeah, you couldn't hope to meet a better head of state. So it was. I think we all had a great and wonderful time.
That's that point you're making. It just shows that Peace Run is more than the sum of its parts, because it awakens something in us. We go there. We've done many Peace Runs, but it gives us a whole new experience, a deep experience. And like you say, it awakens. It gives him an opportunity. So this is the beauty of the Peace Run, that it wherever it goes, it awakens. It inspires and uplifts and produces things that you can't imagine.
Yeah. Did you want to say something, Florbela?
You know that we have already good presidents in our country and very nice also. But now that I was hearing you both, I was thinking that we never had a president like him.
Right.
I was thinking about the other presidents that we had, and some of them were amazing, but none of them like him.
Right.
It's really different.
Yeah.
It's really different.
Peace run, peace run, peace run, peace run. Peace run.